Welcome to Wednesday. It's gonna be leg day. It's gonna be so much fun. Let's see. Um, just a quick intro. This is my workout transformation for the year. I'm going to be just streaming my workouts for the rest of the year at least. The difference in this transformation over other transformations is that I'm not using any sort of supplements, so no protein shakes, protein powders, no creatine, no pre-workouts, no BCAAs, no supplements. I'm not opposed to using supplements. I've used them in the past. I think if you want to use them, great. Do what works best for you. I'm just curious this year to see if I really need them to hit my current weight loss or physical goals. So we'll see how that goes. So far, the biggest difference is that just having the lack of ease of getting enough protein via shakes and stuff is the biggest difference. So yeah, today is leg day. Also, a secondary reason for cutting out supplements is that when my kids started preschool, preschool is expensive, and cutting out supplements saves me $100 at least a month, and then let's see, it's $1,200 a year. So every little bit helps these days. Morning, what's up, Collins? It's leg day. What are you working on today? All right, I'm gonna start off with some body weight squats. Make sure everything's ready to go. Back, shoulders, sit-ups. That's what Jay Collins is knocking out today. Good, man. I ended up coming back out to the garage yesterday, trying to make up for my shoulder workout. So I got some more stuff done yesterday. I ended up coming back out to the garage yesterday. So it's supposed to be 70s today in Pennsylvania. So I'll probably take the dog out after work. Got round two, LOL. Yeah, that's the nice thing about having dogs is you have to get out and walk them. Our weather's being weird over here. It keeps like fluctuating between it was at 78, 80s, and then next day was a little bit cooler, like in the 70s, and then yesterday it was back down to the 60s. What's up, Bowser? Good morning or good day. the 30 pounds, which is 13.6 kilograms. All right. Moving up to 70 pounds, 31.75 kilograms. Oof. I thought one of my kids was up and moving around, but they just are hard to see in their bed sometimes. All right, here we go. Jay Collins says, do you try to eat a lot of protein? Most people say they like to get close to 1 gram per pound of body weight. Um, I try to consume a lot of protein. Most days I do pretty good. Um, most days I do pretty good with getting protein in. Some days I get lazy and get tired of cooking eggs. Um, One of the things that, in this year of stepping away from taking supplements, definitely getting protein intake has been harder, just because you gotta cook. But I still try to get as much protein as I can. I really like getting red meat as much as possible. I try to get primarily eat a lot of chicken and beef, a lot of ground beef, because good beef is expensive. But one of the things I noticed is that a lot of the stuff that says like, oh, you need this much protein, it's talking to people that are trying to look like bodybuilders, or they're trying to reach like a certain level of physique, get super giant muscles all over, and for me, I was like, man, is that what I need to do? Is that what I really want to do? Is you know cram all this protein down, get to this physique that's only maintainable if I am continually eating this much food. I just don't think that's what I really want to do. I want to be able to reach kind of a peak level with just a pretty basic diet, nothing extreme, nothing crazy that's gonna burn me out. I think a lot of the people you see that talk about that stuff, that's all they do. That's their whole life is fitness. But that's not like the average guy's life. The average guy's life is not going to be able to pound all that protein all the time, go to the gym for all those hours in a day, and do all these things. That's not your career. It's not. It's not easy to do that, and it doesn't make sense to me. What makes sense to me is doing something that's more practical. Following a good diet, but not super strict. Eating carbs if I feel like it, but working those carbs off. Chipping away, making it a sustainable lifestyle. And building to me, and this is kind of why like cutting out buying a lot of supplements worked for me is that I was looking at it as like I'm spending $1,200, at least $1,200 a year on my physique, and that just when I put in that much money, it just seemed weird to me, given that I had other expenditures like kids and stuff. So it's harder to justify. So trying to just see what I can do without it. But that's a long explanation for a very simple question you asked. And it's different for everyone. Some people, I feel like their body, in order to make muscles or look big, requires a lot more. I think some people, they require more protein. They require more uh, supplements. Some guys won't look big unless they're, unless they're taking creatine. They need it to look the way they want to look. And my thing is that I want my body to be running off of a regular diet as much as possible, because if disaster strikes tomorrow and your muscles are used to running off of, high octane gas, now all of a sudden all you got is diesel. I do think it'll have a detrimental effect on your ability to push through things. And for me, it's important to think that, say tomorrow China invades. I don't think this is going to necessarily happen, but let's just say China invades and they put all of us into work camps. I don't want to die because I can't do, 10, 14 hours of manual labor. Like, just look good and be like, I got big muscles, but they're not worth anything. It's me, unless you can do manual labor for long hours, your muscles are kind of, they're a facade. Even if you can like lift giant weights, it's still a facade if you can't keep it going. In my mindset, but everyone can do what they want and pursue the kind of body they want. This is where I'm at right Man, I'm not knocking it, but you'll like see these guys that that say you have to consume so much protein will also do things like tell you they don't run because running will break down their muscles, so they don't run at all. They limit their cardio, and to me that's like a huge mistake. What if you're in a bad situation where you got to run 4 blocks to get away from the building that's blowing up? I thought that happens a lot, but it happens enough. Jay Collins says, I hear you. I've been trying to do like 0.6 or more grams per pound. Some days I do more, some less, but it seems to help. I think the days you hit it really hard, you should definitely grab some protein. If you're doing, that's why I like to eat, I eat ground meat But I like to at least once, at least once every 2 weeks, go out and get like a fat steak and eat that. Eat a good steak. And especially, I feel it when I eat red meat, how it sits in your stomach, and then how you feel better, like in the next few days. I'm a big fan of red meat. I don't eat a lot of pork. The pork I do consume is either in the form of bacon or breakfast sausage. Yeah, I think you gotta figure out what kind of body you want, and then do what works best for that body type. Like I said, I try to keep in mind that if disaster strikes, I need this thing to run. That's why I like it's not easy for me to cut weight. Um, but even if it was, I don't want to be ever so lean that I have like a clearly defined six pack. Because again, I think if disaster strikes, you want some fat. You know, you don't want to be so close to death, which is what you are when you have almost no body fat. Clearly, I can still lose like 20 pounds and be nowhere near the risk of dying from low body fat. But like I look at my brother's super lean, just naturally doesn't put on a lot of fat. But I think like if disaster strikes, even just in like you get really sick and you get in the hospital and they can't get a lot of food into you, your stomach's not doing great. You know, if his body has to start consuming itself, there's not a lot to consume. Versus if my body had to start like, okay, we gotta start, eating ourselves. There's a lot more for it to go on. It's gonna last longer. He may he may die because he doesn't have enough fat on him. And that's not gonna happen to me. That's that's the comfort I take in not looking like Brad Pitt from Fight Club like he does. All right, that's it for the 70 pounds. When I was talking, and just reminded of that part from um, what is it? Batman Begins, when Alfred says to Bruce Wayne, Batman, What's the point of all those push-ups if you can't get this board off of you?" When he's trapped underneath the rafter from the fire. I think if you want to look at optimal health, like what is the best form of health to be in, and kind of diet plan. I think being able to do what what the Marines are required to do, is a really good starting point. Being able to do those, do the PFT, seeing what they eat, seeing kind of what their um, body fat percentages are supposed to be like, and being just combat ready, I think is a good, healthy place to be. You don't have to be super jacked to be those guys, and you don't have, but you'll be in shape. And I would definitely encourage getting in better shape, because, like, let's say also things hit the fan, and we start getting draft cards in the mail, you're only going to have, that boot camp that's standard is going to get cut down. So you're going to have less time to get physically ready for the front lines if draft cards do get passed out. So being able to already be in good or decent physical shape will be key to your survival. If you're 50 pounds overweight, you get, basic training cut down to 4 weeks. You're gonna be really hurting. You're definitely gonna be cannon fodder. All right, this is the 60 pounds, 27.21 kilograms. And for me, I do want to be in better shape because, man, if we get into a righteous war, I'm gonna want to go. Still, if we are facing another like Pearl Harbor or 9/11 situation, I'd want to go. But I'm so old, I would have to convince them to take me because of my age. And if they could just say, hey, you're too overweight, then it could easily keep me from getting in. And I was just 2 years off of being able to go in for 9/11. 2 years too young. But I would have wanted to that one. All right, that was 8. I wanted 10, but on the 70 pounds, I did get done 5 sets of 10, which was a first on that account. So I feel good about that. All right. All right, going down the 50s. What would you say, Jay Collins, is your kind of current long term and short term goals? Short term, stick to a workout plan, do something every day, eat better, Jay Collins says. Long term, lose weight, feel better, and get a little stronger. How much, if you don't mind my asking, what's your, like how much weight do you want to lose? Like for me, I'd like to come down at least 25 pounds and stay down that level. Ideally, I'd like to get, so right now, Jay Collins says right now I'm 6'1", 265 ish. So it's not bad. Definitely that height, man, 6'1", that'll add some weight. I was at 344 at my heaviest. I got down to 235 in 2020, but I'm tuning at 260 to 270. Yeah, that hurts, man, when it comes back on. But you put back on what, 35 pounds. I'm fat and athletic, but I carry my weight well. That makes a difference. Well, so I have this like feeling that I noticed about when I put back on weight is do a lot of work, you burn a lot of fat. But when you're burning that fat, generally you're putting on muscle. So when you get to, let's say you start at 344, let's say at 344 pounds, that you probably still had like at least, I'm not a doctor, so I'm just very guesstimating. But let's say at 344 pounds, you had like 220 pounds worth of like stuff that's not fat, muscle. But let's say at that point you had like 50 pounds of muscle. But as you lost the weight, you're exercising, so you also were putting on muscle. So then that 50 pounds becomes 60 pounds, becomes 70 pounds. Well, then all of a sudden, if you stop or you start eating more, you're putting fat back on top of that muscle. So let's say, God forbid, you put back on weight and you got to 364 or 354 pounds. Even though you initially lost, all this fat, when you get to 360 or 54 pounds, you you may have less fat on you than you did previously at 344 pounds. If that makes any sense. So at 260 pounds, you do have more muscle. So the jump from 235 to 260, you do also have to account for. You can't just look and be like, oh man, I put on, so much fat. It's like, no, you also had muscle that you added. So it's less fat than you think. If that makes any sense. It was very confusing to me in saying that. Basically, every time you lose weight, you put on muscle. So when you put back on weight, you're putting that weight back on top of the muscle weight that you gained. You got it. Good. I can stop. At least that's what I tell myself to feel more better, or to feel better about, not more better, feel better about the weight that I put on. That, oh, it's not as much fat. You added muscle to the mix. I always like doing the game in my head where you try to, when you see someone that's heavy, like really heavy, you try to spot whether they were an athlete or not. You look at them, let's say you're like at the bar and they're sitting on the bar stool. They might look like someone that somebody could like make fun of, someone that was insecure, make fun of them for being fat. And you're just waiting for it because you're like, this guy is incredibly strong and will just lay people out. And you can tell that he's just a former athlete that's put on weight versus someone that's like, put on weight from never doing anything. I always like to try and spot the secretly like strong people. On the same side, those like guys that look like they don't have any muscle, they look really skinny, and you look at him like, oh man, that guy is a country boy who grew up tossing hay bales. He will tear you to pieces. Don't like mistake him for being weak. The scary ones are those lean guys that grew up throwing hay bales all the time. And you look and they have massive hands, skinny arms, like massive hands, and they can just obliterate most people if they ever like lay a hand on them. I'll never forget, like, when I was a kid, I'd wrestle. Um, I was young, like 8 or 9, and went to like this freestyle tournament. And I've always been stocky, so I could really like slam a lot of guys to the mat hard when I was a kid, and didn't really have a hard time hitting people. But this one guy, he was like yay taller than me, but super lanky. I'll never forget. He was wearing a green. Uh, he was wearing green, and he just obliterated me. It was like wrestling a spider. It's the first time I'd ever really just got worked and just couldn't get the best of him. And so forever, I'm weary of lanky people. Jay Collins says, every time I play in a softball tournament, I always get some dude saying, man, you're way better than you look, or you're quick for your size. Jay Collins says, I wrestled in the world's largest wrestling tournament when I was like 11, almost Ohio. Good times. Oh, geez, man. I feel like wrestling in the Midwest, in the East, like where you do have a lot of those, they call them those porn eating boys, big old boys, like sturdy stock, man. That is corn fed boys. I would, it was like a whole different breed. All right, that's it for me today. Shakon says our whole football team, all the linemen were like 280 pounds, or 280, 350 pounds, 6 feet to 6'7". Crazy. We had only one 80-pound kid per graduating class. Oh, that is a that is a massive team. Football players, man, can be no joke. My wife played football, and she is just a tiny bit shorter than me, but she is strong, which is part of the huge contributing factor to marrying her. Is I knew she'd give me strong kids. I'm hoping my kids get taller than me, and if any boys I have take after her height, on her side of the family, they should be. Trying to give them a little bit of an edge. I'd like them to be able to be at least 6 feet tall. There's a whole lot of statistics that show in business, if you're taller, you're more successful. Also, if you have a mustache, you're more successful in business. People with mustaches make more money, which is not something I think a lot of people. I didn't suspect that. I thought it'd be you had to be clean shaven, but no. If you got a mustache, you make more money. And if you go out for drinks, you make more money. So if you're clean shaven and you never hit the bar with your coworkers, you're gonna make less money than the guy with the mustache that hits the bar with the coworkers. Doesn't make sense, but that's what they see. So all right, well, thank you for coming by, Collins. I hope you have a good Wednesday. I'm gonna have a good one, boss. Good intensity today. Thanks, man. I'm gonna try and make it out here later for some lunges, depending on how things go. I also am gonna be running today. I'm gonna be doing my 30-minute run around my block, so that'll be fun. It's nothing like running off after a leg day. It's actually running the next day is worse. Running today won't be as bad as when I run tomorrow, especially since tomorrow is running on hills. But all right, man. God bless you. Take it easy.